What happens when an HOA tries to steal a man's lake, only to find out he secretly owns their entire neighborhood? This isn't just a fight over property. It's a story of shocking power, betrayal, and ultimate revenge. After decades spent in courtrooms, buried in briefs and disputes that never seemed to end, retirement felt like salvation. The ranch stretched 60 acres wide, ringed by silent pines and broken only by the winding gravel road that connected him to the world. It was meant to be an escape, a place where his hands could finally touch soil instead of paperwork, and where morning coffee was accompanied only by the rustle of leaves. For months, everything moved at the slow rhythm he had dreamed of. That rhythm broke the day she arrived. Karen, clipboard in hand, her stride stiff with authority she had not been granted. She treated the open land as if it were her personal domain. She spoke quickly, listing violations of rules that did not apply, brandishing letters from an HOA that had no power beyond its suburban boundaries. He listened in silence, though beneath the calm, his instincts stirred. She was trespassing, uninvited, already stepping beyond the reach of her supposed title. At first, he assumed it would pass. Perhaps a mistake, a misunderstanding, maybe even a bluff. But the days that followed told a different story. Notes appeared on his gate. Demands piled up. Threats of fines, notices of hearings, and warnings about imaginary obligations. The peaceful solitude he had carved for himself was no longer untouched. And deep down, he sensed this woman had no intention of stopping. But this was only the beginning, and the storm she was about to unleash would pull them both far from the quiet countryside, straight into a courtroom neither of them expected. The weeks that followed were a slow crawl of irritation. Karen's letters became more frequent, stuffed into the mailbox with self-important signatures and bold headings from her HOA board. Each one grew more audacious than the last, demanding compliance with neighborhood standards he had never agreed to. The gravel road leading to his ranch was suddenly labeled community access, and the board claimed the right to regulate who could use it. He knew better. The road was deeded directly to him, written into county records with his name etched beside it. But Karen was relentless. She showed up with a tape measure one morning, pacing his driveway and muttering numbers as though she were building a case. On another day, she stood near the edge of his property snapping pictures of his barn, his vehicles, and even his livestock. She was careful not to step too far onto his land when she thought he was watching, but the trail cameras he'd installed told the real story. Give the answer in comment box. If you discovered your late uncle secretly owned the land under an entire neighborhood, would you confront the HOA right away, or keep it quiet and play along? Trespass after trespass, picture after picture, Karen's obsession grew. The air of peace he had cultivated was now tainted with the sour taste of looming conflict. She wasn't just playing games anymore. She was laying the groundwork for something bigger, and soon enough the bigger move came, sealed inside a thick envelope delivered by certified mail, a summons to court. What Karen did not know was that by dragging him into legal battle, she had stepped onto his battlefield, not hers. The summons accused him of violating HOA bylaws, obstructing historic community access, and refusing to comply with mandatory dues. The absurdity would have been laughable, had it not been an attempt to strip away the quiet life he had fought for. He read each line carefully, his old instincts awakening with every clause. This was not simply an overzealous neighbor. Karen wanted control, and she was willing to twist the legal system to get it. Instead of anger, he felt a kind of steady calm. 30 years in civil and property law had prepared him for this exact moment, though he had never expected retirement to circle him back to a courtroom. He pulled out his old files, dusted off the casebooks, and began assembling his defense. Title deeds, aerial photographs, and tax records were lined up in precise order. Every trespass was logged with time-stamped photos from his trail cameras. He had more than enough to dismantle every accusation. Give me answer in comment box. Do you think the HOA president really believed she could bully Marcus forever? Or was she just too arrogant to see the truth coming? Meanwhile, Karen strutted about the countryside as if victory was inevitable. She bragged to other landowners that the outsider would soon be paying fines, that she would finally bring his ranch under HOA control. Her arrogance only fueled him further. As the hearing date approached, his strategy was simple. Stay silent, stay ready, and let her dig her own grave with every exaggerated claim. The courtroom would not just be a place to defend his land. It would be the place to expose her lies once and for all. The courthouse carried the familiar smell of polished wood and paper, a place he had walked through thousands of times before, though now he entered as a defendant rather than counsel. Karen was already there, seated with her board members flanking her like loyal guards. She wore the expression of someone convinced the judge was already on her side. When proceedings began, Karen's lawyer painted him as a stubborn retiree standing in the way of community harmony. They argued that the gravel road had always been public, that his land had been absorbed into the HOA decades ago, and that by refusing to comply, he was undermining their authority. Karen nodded eagerly at every word, her smugness radiating across the room. But when his turn came, the air shifted. Calmly, methodically, he laid out the chain of title stretching back over a century, proving uninterrupted ownership of both the land and the access road. He presented aerial maps, county records, and notarized deeds, each one tightening the noose around Karen's claims. Finally, he revealed the trail camera footage, images of Karen trespassing, clipboard in hand, measuring, photographing, and entering property that was legally his. The judge leaned forward, brows knitting in disbelief as the evidence mounted. Karen's smile faltered, and with every word, every document, her empire of control began to crumble before the court's eyes. As the evidence unfolded, Karen's confidence cracked. Her lawyer stammered, attempting to argue that community tradition outweighed property rights, but the judge cut the claim short. Property law was clear, and the documents left no room for interpretation. The road was his. The land was his. The HOA had no jurisdiction. Then came the revelation that turned the tide completely. The camera footage not only showed Karen trespassing, but also attempting to mark off sections of his ranch as if to absorb them into her HOA map. The judge's tone hardened. What had begun as a civil complaint now looked dangerously close to harassment and property fraud. Karen's board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, clearly unprepared for the fallout. Whispers rippled through the courtroom as her credibility collapsed in full view. The woman who once strutted with certainty now sat pale and silent, staring at the floor as the case unraveled around her. Give me answer in the comment box. If you were in Marcus's shoes, would you dismantle the HOA completely, or use your new power to take control yourself? When the gavel finally struck, the ruling was decisive. He owed nothing. The HOA had no claim, and Karen's actions had crossed the line into unlawful interference. The judge ordered her to cease all contact and hinted that further charges could follow if she persisted. This was just one of many wild neighborhood stories. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because here at QZ Stories, we bring you the craziest tales of revenge, justice, and neighborhood drama every week. Don't miss the next one. It might just be even more unbelievable.